Thank you all for coming. We are here today this afternoon to say goodbye to Liesl Gilmore, though she was better known as Les, or even Baba Les, even if she wasn't technically your Baba. Her Hebrew name was Leah. Leah bat Michal Varivka, the daughter of Max and Frida. We are here today to honor Les, to pay her respect, and to fulfill the mitzvah, the righteous act, the commandment in Jewish tradition of accompanying her on her final journey to her final resting place. This is considered the highest form of respect we can show another human in Jewish tradition. We are also here to join our hearts together with those of Les's family, to console and comfort a family who are now mourning the loss of their beloved mother, grandmother, sister, aunt, and dear friend. Les passed away Sunday, the 8th of September, also the 8th day in the Hebrew month of Elul. She was 89 years old. She will be lovingly missed by her daughter Sharon and son-in-law Mark, and her daughter Judy, her grandchildren, Michal, Yael, and Shiri, Marley and Bryce, and Danielle, by her sisters, Edith and Rita, and brother-in-law Sam, by nieces, nephews, cousins, and by dear, dear friends. Les was predeceased by her parents, Max and Frida Meyer, her brother-in-law Sam, her brother-in-law and sister-in-law Saul and Bernice, and her loving husband of 19 years, Max Gilmore, who passed away suddenly and tragically 39 years ago. We begin our ceremony this afternoon with the chanting of a psalm and the reading of Jewish words of wisdom and comfort. This links Les's life with 4,000 years of Jewish tradition and with the eternity of God. Adonai roi lo echsar, bino deshe yarbitzeini al mei menuchot, yenahaleni nafshi yeshoveh. Yancheni v'maglei tzedek leman shemo. Gam ki elech begeit sama velo irara ki ata imadi. Shivtecha umishantecha hema yenachamuni. Taroch lefanai Shuchane ged sorerai. Dishanta Vashem en Roshi kosi rivaya. Ach tov achesed yirdefuni ko yemei chayai. Veshavti beveit Adonai leorech yamim. A Psalm of David. Adonai, God is my shepherd, I shall not want. God makes me lie down in green pastures, leads me beside the still waters, and restores my soul. Guides me on the right path, for that is God's nature. Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no harm, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a banquet for me in the presence of my foes. You anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows. Surely goodness and loving kindness shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of God forever. When it comes to Jewish funerals, one of the books of the Bible often quoted is Kohelet, Ecclesiastes. There's a line in Ecclesiastes that reads, "The eye never has its fill of seeing." Young or old, those who depart this life and this world never see enough of this life and this world. They never complete their task. They never get the chance to cherish their loved ones enough. Their loved ones always wish they had more time to have them close for yet another challenge in their lives, for yet another joy and celebration, yet another precious moment spent together. Whenever parting comes, it comes too soon. And yet we also know from Ecclesiastes, there is a time to every purpose under heaven, a time to be born and a time to die. In Jewish tradition, we believe the soul is eternal. The body may wither and die, but the soul lasts forever. And so we also know, and we also say, death is better than a life of pain. Eternal rest is better than a constant sickness. We're encouraged not to hide our grief, nor to restrain our mourning. For this family has lost someone dear and precious, someone irreplaceable, a matriarch. But we're also encouraged to turn our thoughts to hope and faith, that Les is at peace, and that her memory will be a blessing, an inspiration, and also a source of peace. So again, on behalf of her family, I thank you all for coming this afternoon. Les Gilmore was born Liesel Meyer, June 25th, 1930, in Ochtrup, Germany, the second daughter of Max and Frida, following her older sister, Edith. Sensing anti-Semitism and a threat of what would become World War II and the Holocaust, her parents moved the family out of Germany and into Holland just after Kristallnacht in 1938, a night on which her own father, Max, was arrested. Frida, the mother, was pregnant at the time, and Les's younger sister, Rita, was born in Holland. After 5 years in Holland, the family came to Canada, specifically to Lorette, Manitoba, where they ran a family farm, where Les actually thrived as, I'm told, the best cow milker in the family. But it was a tough time. Tough for a family who only spoke German and no French, in a place where everyone spoke French and no German. Eventually, the Meyers moved to Winnipeg, where Max opened, ran, and owned a grocery store on Ellis Avenue between Agnes and Victor. The family home was attached to the store, a 2-bedroom home where everyone lived. Les went to General Wolfe School, Daniel McIntyre Collegiate, and then she worked for a while at Zollmark Industries, though no one in the family is exactly sure what she did there. It doesn't really matter. Her career at Zollmark was short-lived because the big moment was when she met Max Gilmore, the love of her life. He was just a couple of years older, and they married. She was 31, June 11th, 1961. And together, they started a life moving into a home in North Kildonan, on, of all places, Gilmore Avenue, which was, of course, named after her new father-in-law, an area of town where he had owned land before. Les immediately joined up in the Gilmore clan, Max's family, forming an especially close bond with her new sister-in-law, Bernice, married to Max's brother, and bringing with her to the Gilmores a commitment to Judaism and Jewish tradition, especially kashrut, keeping a kosher home, she had learned from her own father, Max, who was a deeply religious and by-the-book man. The new family grew quickly. First Sharon was born, and then just 16 months later, Judy. The girls, as they will tell you in their eulogy, have fond memories of growing up on Gilmore Avenue, and then, of course, the move to Garden City and Laurel Bay. Tragically, Max passed away suddenly at the age of 53, leaving Les a widow in just her early 50s. But a testament to her strength and perseverance, qualities which defined her entire life, and which we will hear more about in just a moment. She soldiered on as a mother and later as a Baba. This is just an introduction to a remarkable and incredible life of an incredible woman we honor today. And the best way we know in Jewish tradition to honor is to offer a hesped, a eulogy. It's now my honor to call forward Les's daughters, Sharon and Judy, who will deliver the eulogy in their mom's honor.
Our mother came from a family of daughters. She went on to marry our dad and have Judy and me. Then Judy and I carried on that tradition and had 5 more granddaughters between the two of us. In fact, most of the many puppies in our Gilmore clan are female as well. Girls are in this Gilmore family's bloodline, and somewhere along the way, our mother, Judy, Michal, Marley, Yael, Danielle, Shiri, and I decided to refer to ourselves as the Gilmore girls. When Mark, and now Bryce, entered our lives, we happily welcomed these boys into the club and actually renamed the group to the Gilmore Girls +2. Much like Lorelai and Rory of the famous television series, our Gilmore Girls were strong, independent, charismatic, and funny too. We loved being together and spent so much quality time in one another's company. We created a special bond and so many memories together. Every family birthday, Jewish celebration, or life cycle event was cherished and always a family affair. We traveled together often and, until our mother's illness, spent every Friday night together for her traditional and exceptionally delicious Shabbat dinners. We went through so many difficult times as the Gilmore girls, but no matter what, we seemed to pull through and remain loyal and tightly reliant on one another. There were so many similarities between our Gilmore girls and the TV show that we have Gilmore Girls t-shirts to prove it.
We tell you this because over the last few weeks, as our mother's battles with diabetes, cancer, vascular disease, high blood pressure, and kidney failure were harder and harder to ignore, we knew that it was time to begin thinking about a eulogy and the way we wanted to remember our mom and Baba. I started remembering moments and stories in my mind that had to be shared. Sharon grabbed a notebook and began jotting down everything and anything that was relevant and important to make you understand how nurturing, feisty, strong our mother really was. Both of us wanted to make it very clear that our mother was a fighter who endured far more hardship with my father's early and unexpected death 39 years ago this month than any woman should, coupled with so many chronic illnesses that most people would never live through. Tying all these memories, stories, and jotted down anecdotes together became overwhelming, and then late Sunday night after my mom's death, Sharon had an epiphany while listening to the Gilmore Girls theme song. Each of our stories was like our own Gilmore Girls episode. Our history was like all great dramedies, sometimes hilarious, sometimes tragic, sometimes nerve-wracking, but almost always happily ever after. So here we go with Season 1, Episode 1 of our version of the Gilmore Girls +2.
Season 1, Episode 1, What Makes a Family? Valuable Lessons Learned. In the series pilot episode, you would be taken to a quiet North Kildonan neighborhood. The camera would pan the street sign saying Gilmore Avenue and a block of simple bungalows on a basic street with kids playing outdoors, big backyards, and lots of mothers sitting indoors sharing a coffee or on their lawn chairs gossiping outside. And then you would zoom in to 228 Gilmore Avenue to meet Max, Les, Sharon, and Judy Gilmore. This episode would introduce the viewers to the matriarch Liesl, known by most as Les. Audiences would learn of her strong desire to teach her daughters right from wrong, to expect the best from her children at all times, to show love with homemade meals, a clean home, and even bed sheets drying on the clothesline outdoors. And then there would be the daily threats as the girls fought, like, do what I say, or wait until your father comes home. You'd be introduced to their idyllic life and the cast of supporting characters living right down the street. You'd meet the grandparents, Julius and Ruby Gilmore, as well as the extended family, Saul, Bernice, Gary, and Howie Gilmore, who took on the role of aunt, uncle, cousins, best friends, and more. This episode would be chock full of wholesome family time with homemade cinnamon buns at the grandparents' on Sunday mornings and a visit to the other grandparents' apartment in West Kildonan to see Oma and Opa, aunties Edith and Rita, both Uncle Sam's, and cousins Alan, Susan, and Jody. There would be scenes from traditional Friday night family dinners with all the kosher fixins and lots of bickering and silliness. This episode would quickly lead you to love the main character, Liesl, and see the strong presence she took on in this adorable, typical Jewish family living in a not-so-typical Jewish neighborhood.
Season 1, Episode 2, Contradictions. In this second episode, the intent would be to build a love for all the Gilmore girls, but to move you far ahead into the life of the main character and the series matriarch, Les. You would meet her many friends and allies. You would discover her immense inner strength when her husband dies suddenly and she is left to raise her 16 and 18-year-old daughters on her own. You'd be transported in time to the 90s when Les goes full force and is transformed into her God-given role as Baba Les. We see her cherishing the birth of 5 beautiful granddaughters in 6 years. You will see her dote on each grandchild, Michal, Marley, Yael, Danielle, and Shiri. She will become not only a Baba to her grandchildren, but will quickly be adopted by everyone of the kids' friends. She will become known to many worldwide as Baba Les, Babakins, Mrs. Baba, and Babalicious. But all good shows need drama, and sadly the Gilmore girls suffer many difficult times. You are horrified to learn that Les has developed colon cancer and must go through surgery. Relief again as our heroine pulls through it all with the support of dear friends and her loving family. In this special episode, Baba Les will welcome her first grandson when Marley meets and marries Bryce. The theme of this episode will be to fill the watchers with the complexity of Les Gilmore. She nurtures, but she's tough. She's loving, but a fighter. She is caring, but she has extremely high expectations of her daughters and grandchildren. She is self-aware, but modest. She is independent, but still dependent on her extended family. She loves to be surrounded by friends, but family is central and the core of her existence. She is gentle, but feisty like no other. She is the one and only Baba Les.
Season 1, Episode 3, Technology and a Baba. Episode 3 needs some comic relief. So around the turn of the century, we decide that our mother should enter into the computerized world. Mark and I took an old computer and a keyboard from our home and moved it into the old bedroom in the second family home in Garden City. Judy and I are teachers and have a lot of patience. So we decide that we can show our spunky smart mother how to get online and possibly email with her friends. After all, she is such a social person and really should find other ways to converse with her buddies other than hour-long phone calls each day. Plus, she wants to speak to her granddaughters more, and they are always on those Verkakta machines. All the patience in the world, education courses, and special needs training could not prepare me for the difficulties in trying to teach my mother how to use a mouse. The computer is removed, and she is back to phoning all day long. Around the same time, Judy and I decide to get our mother a cell phone. She's still driving. How is that even allowed? And living alone. A cell phone wasn't an extra, it was an essential. The cheapest flip phone available was purchased along with a $10 a month plan from the neighborhood Radio Shack. We make a daughterly decision to leave this task in the capable hands of the grandchildren to educate the Baba. Many examples can be demonstrated in this hilariously funny episode showing Liesel's attempts on the constant hang-ups on family and friends as she tries to accept a call. As time goes on, we see our main character moving into the 20th century, inheriting all the old iPads or tablets so she could play the casino apps and visit the Facebook each day. As her mobility is declining slightly, we are introduced to her loving caregivers, and with the help of Grace, Batsheva, and Cassia, we see the Baba online on a constant basis to keep up with the lives of her family and friends. Eventually, Baba Les really moves into the technological world to start in her own hilariously candid and funny Instagram page called Kvetch of the Day, with the help of her youngest granddaughter, Shiri. If this truly were written as a Gilmore Girls episode, this is the point in time where we would flash back to some of those posts to share her antics, her food reviews, and her everyday kvetches that made her the mother and Baba that was loved so dearly. If you are able to make it to our Shiva, we will feature clips of some of her best Instagram posts.
Season 1, Episode 4, Goodbye, Mama and Baba. In the season finale, we are saddened to see Baba Les's health declining. She is afflicted by diabetes, vascular issues, kidney disease, colon cancer, and later metastasized bone cancer. Her mobility is lessened, and she is forced to use a walker and quickly thereafter a wheelchair. The family jokes that although they are all dog people, Baba Les seems to have 9 lives, much like a cat. She becomes dependent on others to step up and take on the roles she always held as party planner, chef, caregiver, cleaner, social butterfly, and matriarch. Baba Les relies on the love she gave to others all her life to pull her through these awful struggles, and every time it would take a miracle for her to pull through, she does. She fights off disease and somehow seems to find joy in her daughters, son-in-law, grandchildren, grandpuppies, extended family, friends, and her dear caregivers, Gracie, Batsheva, Cassia, and Raji. The plot thickens as we watch Sharon and I visiting her daily at the Simkin Center, trying to get her to eat or drink. We see her adored caregivers coaxing her to get out of bed or go for a walk in the wheelchair. Oh no, then there's an ambulance and Baba Les is in the hospital. The grandchildren are visiting and telling stories of their day, trying to engage her with tidbits of their lives, showing her photos, playing reruns of Jeopardy, and holding her hand. There is a scene where I am begging her to take her medication, and various family members cover her with blankets to keep her warm. Doctors come and go, the IV is dripping, and then there's a commercial break. We return to the Gilmore girls to learn of Liesel's death due to the final of her 9 lives, a bout of pneumonia that set in suddenly and she could no longer fight off. The finale ends with many of her family members coming together to share filet mignon, one of her favorites, at a casual family gathering at Sharon's home. The family is sharing stories, looking at photographs, and laughing hysterically as they enjoy looped videos from Kvetch of the Day.
Viewers are so shocked and saddened by the loss of the main character and the matriarch. How could our version of the Gilmore Girls continue without its main character? Les Gilmore filled those Gilmore Girls +2 and all of her supporting cast and many viewers with history, memories, love, compassion, humor, joy, stories, and purpose. Of course there will be a second season. She wouldn't have it any other way. We love you, Mom.
Sharon, Judy, thank you so much for such a beautiful eulogy for your mom. The impact she has had on your lives is evident, something you clearly cherish. And so we thank you again for sharing these incredible creative words of tribute with all of us today. Now it's my honor to call up the granddaughters, the rest of the Gilmore girls. I believe Danielle and Sherry are going to be speaking on everyone's behalf to share more reflections on what Baba Les means to all of them. So come on up.
Our Babalicious Baba Les was a beautiful, independent, feisty, spunky, loving, and fierce woman. When describing her to others, we often considered her to be a social butterfly, sometimes ruthless, but most often hilarious and kind. She loved talking on the phone with friends, Saturday lunches with her crew, walks through Kildonan Park when it was nice out, and in the winter through Garden City Mall. People who got to know her instantly loved her because she took genuine interest in your life. We know this because of her most famous line, "And what else is new?" Yael heard this line quite a bit as she returned home from work travels to calls from Baba, attempting to remember every detail of her schedule and the names of each community she went to. Michal remembers when Baba got the Facebook, as she called it, and would call all of us to talk about all the exciting updates she would find while scrolling through with her Gracie. Every now and then, she would also surprise us with gibberish comments on our posts or friend requests to people she's never met.
Babakins accepted people for who they were. She rolled with the times and the punches. She understood everyone was unique and found beauty in everyone's quirks and differences. Even when we made the weirdest jokes or when we were going through our hardest ups and downs, Baba wouldn't bat an eye. She was supportive. She enjoyed cooking and made Friday night Shabbat dinners on a weekly basis. Some of her specialties were delicious spaghetti and meatballs, chicken pot pies, and chicken noodle soup that made her vegetarian granddaughter a meat eater. Every Friday night, she would have a new stash of candy hidden and would send us on a scavenger hunt throughout the house to find it. It was clear Baba always believed in hard work and instilled that all in us, in the most Baba of ways. She had so much spunk and sass. My goodness, was Baba less sassy, and we loved every second of it.
Fridays were also special because we were allowed to touch Baba's hair, as every Saturday Baba got her hair done, and on special occasions her famous perm. As Bryce recalls, those perms are what protected her when a wok-house server accidentally dropped a dish of chicken chow mein on her beautiful white locks. Friday nights ended in Baba having a sleepover with one of us each week. That tight embrace we each experienced during our first sleepover at Baba's, an embrace your sisters and cousins could warn you about, but nothing could prepare you for the tight squeeze of your Baba's arm around your neck at 3 a.m. Looking back, we all laughed at our similar experiences of waking up, believing Baba was choking us, but what each of us would give to experience one more of those sleeper holds from our Baba Les. She always believed in us so deeply and wanted the best from us, always wanting us to achieve and never doubting that we wouldn't. She took the time to make each of the 5 of us feel special and would brag about us to her friends as often as possible. One of her proudest moments must have been when she made 9-year-old Danielle a Jeopardy fanatic. She also schlepped nachas for her 3 grandpuppies and 4 great-grandpuppies, most importantly, Chloe, who she constantly told, "Chloe, I love you. Chloe, I love you," a line that the dog got more than the rest of us.
She wasn't just our Baba Les, she was everyone's Baba Les. Any friend who met her over the years so easily warmed up to her and simply started calling her that without even thinking about it. We all enjoyed lots of travel time together to Fargo, Grand Forks, Hawaii, Jamaica, and many other places. Baba loved to travel and eventually began vlogging her travels in Palm Springs with Shiri, ultimately resulting in her infamous Instagram page, Kvetch of the Day, where she reviewed foods, dogs, places, and so much more. She loved to keep up with the Bombers and the Jets as well. She would call Marleykins after each game to discuss every detail of their team. Though this never took place the night of the game, it was always the mornings after, as Baba heard it on CJOB, since Baba's bedtime was the average person's dinner time. After having 2 daughters and 5 granddaughters, Baba was very excited to officially welcome her first grandson, Bryceykins, into the mix this January. Our Baba was a fighter. She was resilient and instilled what it meant to keep going no matter how hard it may be or no matter how much it may hurt to carry on. She is a testament of strength and courage. We take comfort knowing that our ending with Baba is her new beginning with the love of her life, Zeta Max. We bet Zeta Max and Uncle Saul already built side-by-side houses in heaven for them and Auntie Bernice. Now the best friends can all be neighbors again. We miss you so much already, Baba. XOXO, your Gilmore girls.
That was also so very nice. I want to thank all the granddaughters, Danielle and Sherry, for standing up here and sharing more amazing memories of your amazing Baba. One of the words that has been used a lot today, and was used yesterday when I met with Sharon and Judy, was the word matriarch, which in Jewish tradition is something that should be highlighted just a little bit more. Because every time we pray to God, we pray to the God of the patriarchs and the matriarchs. This is how God refers to God's self in the Torah. This is how we refer to God all these years later. And how fitting is it that Les's Hebrew name is Leah, which is one of the Hebrew names of the 4 mothers, the 4 matriarchs. Because if you had to distill these stories, this eulogy and these other memories, into something that defined Les in her life and for what she will be remembered for, it has to be family. Even her incredible skill as a cook was really all about bringing people together to the table. She was a host. It was always at her house. As you've heard, Friday night dinners, but also all of the holidays, they centered around her. But really for her, they centered around family. Whether it was her own family, she understood at a very young age the importance of staying together when they escaped Germany and then moved to Canada and then had to take turns running the store. Whether it was with her daughters, where she was a mom and had to be a single parent. Whether it was when she was a wife, embracing her husband's family and becoming so close with them. Whether it was as a Baba, a role that I'm told, and you've heard, she relished. In fact, she was so natural as a Baba that when the girls were born, the granddaughters, their mums did not need to bring car seats, high chairs, toys, food, anything. Baba Les had bought it all. Her house was totally stocked, and she was babysitting immediately after the first granddaughter was out of the womb. Or whether it was creating a family out of all of her friends. You've heard about the talks on the phone and all the outings and the walks. It seems that Les Gilmore had a more active social life than her children and even her grandchildren, which is not embarrassing. It's amazing. In the Torah, Leah was the mother of 7 of Jacob's children, 6 sons and 1 daughter, which of course is a little ironic. But the point is that that family, of which Leah was the number 1 mother, is the family that turned into the Jewish people. And it's keeping family together, the idea of community, closeness, hospitality, and welcoming, especially through food, that has kept Jewish people together all these years later. If there's anyone who understood that importance, that significance, it was Les Gilmore. I mean, her name, Baba Les, to everyone, she was family. It was her whole being, fostering relationships and keeping those relationships together. She was absolutely a Leah. I invite you to rise now, as in her honor we will chant the El Malei Rachamim, the memorial prayer. El Malei Rachamim, Shochein Bamromim, Hamsei Menucha Nechona, Tachat Kanfei HaShechina, B'malot Kedoshim Uteorim, Kezohar Rakia Mazhirim, Et Nishmat Leah Bat Michal V'Rivka Shelcha Le'olama Began Eden Tehei Menuchata Anabal Harachamim Hastirea Beseter Kenafecha Leolamim Utzeror Bitzeror Achaim Enishmata Adonai Hu Nachalata V'tanuach v'shalom Amishkava v'nomar Amen. Exalted, compassionate God, grant infinite rest in your sheltering presence among the holy and the pure to the soul of Les Gilmore, Leah, Bat Michal V'Rivka, daughter of Max and Frida, who has gone to her eternal home. Merciful One, we ask that she find perfect peace in your eternal embrace. May her soul be bound up in the bond of life. May she rest in peace. And let us say, Amen. Please be seated. We began with words of wisdom and comfort from the sages, but there is one more reading I'd like to offer before we conclude. There are stars up above, so far away, we only see their light long, long after the star itself is gone. And so it is with people we loved. Their memories keep shining ever brightly, though their time with us is done. But the star that lights up the darkest night, that is the light that guides us. As we live our days, these are the ways we remember. Our service will continue with a journey to the cemetery for interment. As I mentioned at the beginning, we care for our loved one until the very end. We will be driving in caravan fashion with our four-way flashers on, though we will be stopping for red lights along the way. As we head to the Sherrod Zedek Cemetery, 230 Armstrong Avenue. You are all invited to join us. After our visit to the cemetery, we will return here to Sherrod Zedek for a meal of consolation, as our thoughts turn from honoring Les to comforting her loved ones, who have now just entered into a journey of their own through mourning and grief. If you choose to wait here at the synagogue for us to return for the meal, please know it's about 90 minutes, usually from when we leave until we get back. And of course, you are welcome to stay that time. keeping with the idea of comforting Les's loved ones, her family will be sitting Shiva, in her memory, accepting visitors at Sharon and Mark's home, which is 46 Newbury Crescent, beginning tonight from 7 to 9, and then tomorrow and Thursday, 2 to 4 in the afternoon, 7 to 9 in the evening, both days. And for all 3 evenings, there will be prayers at 7:30. In a moment, we'll ask the family and the pallbearers to leave the sanctuary first. Then we'll ask you to leave after they have their opportunity to go. When you do leave, we ask you help us with a long-standing custom that we've had here at Shaare Zedek of forming 2 rows on the steps leading out of the building and onto the driveway. In this way, we create 2 rows of familiar faces, family, friends, community, through which the pallbearers and Les will pass. It really is something so fitting for someone for whom family was everything in life. To the family we say, Hamakom yinachem etchem, betoch sha'ar avlei Tzion v'Yerushalayim. May you be comforted and consoled among all those who are in mourning or who have ever been in mourning in our entire community. Family, pallbearers, thank you so much. You may go now. Everyone else, again, you're invited to join us at the cemetery or wait for us to return here. But to all of you, thank you so much for being here this afternoon.